So we are live. We are live.
Yay.
Welcome to the after launch party of my book Being is the New Doing, and I'm so happy to meet you here. I wanted to do this party 2 weeks after the launch so that I can really enjoy the launch, and I wanted to be able to enjoy fully the party and. The best way for me to celebrate this launch book was with conversation with people that I have feeling with. And so today I'm here with Stefanie, and she, please introduce yourself. It's the best way to start.
Hi, yes, I'm Stefanie, and I'm calling in from Florida, hence the blue skies. So I'm in sunny South Florida, which is fabulous. I'm calling myself a modern leadership coach right now. I say that because mindset, it's all kind of related, and what I think is becoming more and more clear to me as I work with executives and entrepreneurs is that this really is modern leadership, because leaders are being asked to do more with less. The lines are blurring between work and parenthood if you have children, and all aspects of life, right? And so they get blurred. And really, in order to perform, in order to have peace, in order to feel fulfilled, there is this extra skill that people now have to have. And in order to be a true modern leader, you have to incorporate these things. Well, you don't have to, but I find it's really helpful if you do. Just a little bit different way of working, which involves a different set of skills than maybe they teach in business school or grad school or high school or anywhere else. So yeah, modern leadership coach is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's start because I already have a question, and I may not follow the question that I have sent you because I'm very spontaneous. So I do with what's coming, and in case nothing is coming, I have the script here, but yeah, I never use it. So yeah, um, yes. So usually, let's say coaches has to embody what they feel, and because as coaches we are always challenged to, yes, our clients are mirroring some stuff to us, so we are here at some point to, yeah, show the example or lead by example or something like that, at least embody what we preach. And so, what does it look like in your life to be a modern leadership coach or consultant? Because
Yeah,
I don't like the word coach. Yes.
I agree with you. And if you find a better one, please let me know. I do struggle because the titles are a little bit like labels, they're a little bit
Yeah.
restrictive. But I love this question because a lot of times people talk about things and then it's almost an accidental hypocritical thing. You're like, and I've fallen into that a little bit because I love what I'm doing. I'm building my business. Boundaries is the thing that's coming to mind, because setting good boundaries and finding this energetic balance, and you talk about this in the book as well, like
Yeah.
energy is the currency. Energy is a critical piece, and very closely related to that are boundaries. And so when I think about my own journey and how I work with, other people, clients, even friends, it creeps into all relationships, doesn't it? But like just embodying this sense of maybe groundedness, and then bringing myself back with different tools, because we all get frazzled, like I've got a 9-year-old, it's life, we're human. And so how do we then leverage these tools so that when an opportunity comes, I have a better place from which to decide if that's the right thing. Is this in alignment? Should I do it? Is this the right thing but not the right time? In which case, keep the conversation going but say no, and that there's a boundary there. But there's a level of awareness that I think I'm getting better at incorporating on the day to day. Certainly not perfect, but and then when I go over, right, when I start doing silly things, I'm like, okay, yep, I'm paying attention to how that feels now, and I'm
Yeah.
recognizing, what, I didn't keep to the boundary, and I ended up saying yes to 3 things that came at me last week that really felt good in the moment. But as a result of saying yes to that, I was not able to fully say yes to the thing that I decided was the most important. And now I'm feeling the stress as a result of that. So I think boundaries and awareness are two things that I use all the time.
Yes, and what are your signals to realize or to be aware that you reach the limit and you are near your boundaries, and it's time to step back or to act or to decide or to protect yourself and
Yeah.
your energy? What are the signals for you?
For me, it's been paying attention to my body. My body is so clued in. I've been such a brainy person for most of my life. If I had to make a decision, I would get a piece of paper out and I would do a little spreadsheet, you know, and that's
You
still,
know, I know,
but
I know. I used to do that too.
so I do that too. There is a place for that, but I am paying a lot more attention to my body. My body, and I think bodies in general, my belief is that they're 500 steps ahead of our brains, at any point in time. And so when I want to check, when I have a moment to check in, or if I'm making a decision about something, I'll take a moment, and sometimes I only have a minute or two, and I'll just check in with how I am feeling. But the other thing that I'm noticing is that when I do overstep and I don't, execute on a boundary, or something comes at me and I'm really surprised, I'm a people pleaser. So my default will always be to probably say yes. And so if I'm caught off guard, my default is probably going to be to say yes. And then what I'm learning is that if I feel a level of resent, on something that I would normally, volunteering at a school is a great example. I love volunteering at my son's school. But if there's any sort of like, and I feel it right here in my solar plexus, when I feel like, no, you don't have space for that right now. It is not in alignment with what you said your goals are. This is my internal conversation, right? With what my goals were for that week, that month, and it doesn't quite fit. And so the signals for me are very body related.
Yeah,
And then I can close and open the day with a bit of a reflection on, how did it go today at the end of the day, and then in the morning, what are the things I want to do? And that kind of helps guide me as well. But it's a full-time job shifting from here to here, but man, it pays off.
absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. I've been practicing that for years, and today I can say that yes, I can really pay attention to my body most part of the day. But yeah, it took me so many years to, because I'm an overachiever, overperformer. I literally love to do stuff and dig into it. And yes, I really love that. And I love to see the results when I have done something. So for me, paying attention to my body or my breath or how I felt at that time was not doing something and there was no result to show. But at the end of the day, the result was better than something concrete. I worked most part of the day in digital and with my clients, corporate clients as well. And so often there is nothing concrete out of the meeting we had, or at one point it's a strategy, but yes, it takes months to see the results, so it's not really concrete. It's not as if you're gardening or housekeeping or whatever. So breathing for me or paying attention to my body was at the beginning not something concrete.
Mm,
But today I'm so much better. I feel better. I'm less sick. I'm less exhausted, and so on. And yes, it's really a journey to and everyone is different. For me, it looks like that, and for you, it's another way.
mm. Yeah, I think that's what I love about this. I say work. I'm going to put air quotes in because I don't find
Yeah,
it work, but the tools, right? Is that there's no lack of ways to do this. There are walks in nature, or for me, even a short thing like making up a cup of coffee, but actually being fully present in that, wherever I
yeah,
am, fully present, which is, tricky in the age of multitasking and task, I should say task switching, right? Because multitasking is
yeah.
not quite a true thing anyway. But all these things like to have an energy drain, and becoming more aware and just coming back to the moment is a
Yes,
pretty.
and yes, and even when I did that this morning, so I had earlier today, so I had to do a proposal for a client and was just asking Claude. I gave Claude the transcription of the conversation. I said, okay, write me the proposal so I can copy paste it in an email and so on. And while was doing it, I switched to another task and I came back later this afternoon. And so I was really realizing, okay, my God, it's not a good way to work. I could have waited for, the proposal and have done some three breaths in the meantime instead of switching, instead of waiting, switching instead of wasting of switching instead of waiting. And why did I do that? I'm not in a rush.
Right.
Work, emergency center or at the hospital. I don't save lives, so that's okay. I have time.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting though, because culturally there is this thing, and I mean, you talk about it a lot. It's what
Yeah,
drew me to your work is this we're doing all the time. Even if it's not something that is a thing we need to do, we're just so in the habit of doing that. And to
yeah,
be is something that people don't understand, let alone know how to do it. And so which is really, they do, but they've forgotten, right? So then it's like, well, it's just, we're so busy all the time doing. That's what gets rewarded. That's what gets even little kids through to get good marks to get into university. So that university, they get good marks again and they get a job and then
yeah.
they little factory. And so I'm thinking about this a lot. And I see Nat just joined. Hi, Nat. And she's got some kids
Oh,
as well. And she would be,
yeah,
I'm sure we could have a good chat about that as well. But it's like, where do you intercept, especially with the kids, but anywhere along that journey, and just like, let's just go ahead and take a pause. And if you are sitting still for a moment and you are not speaking or doing something, are you being lazy? Like, let's normalize this moment of
yeah.
grounding. And but it's a tricky one because our culture is so just go go go.
Yes, and with all yeah, my son is 19, and he literally grew up with his smartphone is in his hand, and I never see him without it. So even if he seems to relax, he's looking at something. And so yes, it's very strange to always receive. And he said he says he's very comfortable with that. It's not annoying, it's not overwhelming. And so maybe this gen X, Z is very different from us.
I'm sure they are, but like fundamentally and physiologically speaking, we're so similar. And you
Yeah,
think about like what is your normal, and what is the normal of our generation versus our children versus 50 years ago in terms
yeah,
of stimulation that we have become accustomed to. And my son, I monitor his screen time, of course, but they use iPads in their school. And so they're tech already, and he'll come home and be bored. I'm like, you're
yeah.
not bored actually, but what you have for the first time during the day is you have some autonomy now, and you've got an hour or two or whatever it is, you get to direct yourself. Because that's the other thing that doesn't really get taught until much later is like little kids are constantly being directed, if not told exactly what to do, and graded. So we're just honing it in. And actually, I say kids, but it's true for adults as well in the workplace, which is like, here's your role, here's how to do it. Oh, here's your performance evaluation. And we put them on this narrow path, right?
Absolutely. I talked about that because you're in another live weeks ago about the, oh my God, the Gauss curve, and this normalized curve. I don't know, it's a statistic thing. And in the middle there is the average. And so I think that people today, conscious people, are more at the edge of this curve, and the uniqueness and differences are here, and we really need those people to open, or to attract the average outside, to to lower the curve so that a new one can emerge. But the thing is that everything in our society, and especially in business and corporate world, is meant to have people here at the average, with the KPIs, the job description, the results you have to produce, the satisfaction curves, etc. It's everything you normalized, or attract to the middle and to fit. Yes, I can't remember the name, but yes, you are near you are averaged or something like that. So you are losing your uniqueness.
Yeah, that really resonated in your book as well about this, because I think people are, it's easy to be a little bit ashamed of things that set us apart. And,
Yeah, yeah,
even wear a different color shirt to school or something from an early age. And when you're in the workplace, it's like you have an idea, but there's a group think thing happening where nobody wants to be the first to speak a lot of the time. Or if you do speak, you're going to look for consensus and externally validate pretty quickly. And if you don't, if you start saying something and it's not in alignment, you're getting the body language looks and you're getting some
absolutely. Yeah,
amongst the ranks, you're probably going to pivot. And that does mean that by a short amount of time, you have a very similar way of working, very similar way of operating. And that's dangerous on so many levels. I mean, personally, yes, of course, we're not bringing our whole selves. But even if I step out of that for a minute and I look at the business result, if we want to talk about performance or productivity or any of these other things, and there are some amazing studies coming out. So it's not even be like, just be more mindful. It's nice. It's not just nice. It's powerful. Like it is. I get goosebumps when I talk about it, because it's like not only from a personal perspective, but businesses and the way that they operate, and they adopt these like crazy ideas. That's some of the best stuff that we have as a result of that bravery that took people out of the median, out of that, and had a conversation where it developed another, curve over here on the long tail.
absolutely. And especially today with the rise of AI, we really need, people to be in their full power, let's say, and in their embracing their originality, because that's what makes them human. And I had this conversation with a client this morning. She's running an accounting company, and she said, "I realized that each time we have an issue with a client and we have to, um, call the federal tax department and so on, each time it's a bot answering, and it's really when you have an issue and you have to have the answer fast, all those bots are really driving you crazy."
Yeah.
And so she said, we really need to, and that will be our USP. We want to stay human. I told her, in order to stay human, you have to use bots or AI or whatever automation processes you can have, um, internally in your company and your processes, so that you save time to be fully you with your clients, because otherwise you will not be competitive enough, or the result will be you will be exhausted because you cannot maintain your USP. And yeah.
I love this too, because there's figuring out AI. I think it's a little bit like, sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's
This
okay.
is the downside of being outside. I love it. And there's a helicopter. um, because AI is so new, and I think people haven't figured out. It's like kids when they first get the iPhone or a piece of technology. Where does it fit in? And I love to hear people say that their businesses, their USP is the humanness of it, where people go can sometimes be a little bit too far. It's like, I'm not using AI. AI is a swear word. We don't talk about it. Like, well, I understand the sort of sense of, I don't know, seriousness in figuring out where it belongs in the business. But
Yeah.
100%, if you've got a 1 or 2 person team and they're doing administrative work and they can't pick up the phone to talk to another human because they're doing the administrative work, it's akin to hiring an intern, except it's way faster and cheaper to do it on that side. So it's the balance of like how that fits, and the alignment piece is going to be different for everybody and for every kind of business as well. But it's an interesting discussion, and it's really fun to watch how it's coming into all of these different spaces. It almost doesn't matter what your business is. It's a part of being human right now, is figuring out our relationship with technology.
Absolutely, because for the first time, this evolution or revolution, I don't know, but for the first time, it's not, vertical like do we say GPS in English as well?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. It's not like, GPS replacing a map.
Right.
It's everywhere. It's not vertical, so it's horizontal, transversal, and each the middle task and management and middle rational stuff can be automated. So what do you want for you, for your business, for your clients, and for that you have to know yourself. It's not only a question of the value and the mission of your company, it's yourself, because you are in as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you are in the main reason why we choose to work with you. So you have to be very conscious about that.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting talking point as well, because figuring out who we are is sometimes that something that people don't do. I mean, I didn't do it
Yeah.
for a, and in order to even make decisions about what am I doing today, this week, what's my focus this year, how am I raising my kid, what am I doing, what do I want to do in my job, there has to be a level of self-awareness that I think for a lot of us for a really long time, you can get away with having a shallow's got a negative connotation, but a limited view of who you are as a person. And I'll speak for myself. I knew what I was good at, and I knew what got rewarded in society, and I
Yeah.
knew, and I knew what I like to do for fun. But I don't think I mean, I was probably 40 before I realized, like, but who am I really, and what do I want? Not just what am I good at, because like, what am I good at that
Yeah.
I don't like doing? What am I maybe okay at but I love? And how do I answer the question? Someone asked me at one point, when I was at my one of my lowest, which is how I got into this work, which is like, what do you want to do? And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea. And this was like, no one, I guess it's funny because you think you ask yourself these questions. I did. I would have said I knew. And so my point to all of that is going a little bit deeper and figuring out this is really the foundational piece, right? And then everything else goes from there. If you build everything else and you don't have that foundation in place, it is so easy to run, if you're lucky, a little bit parallel, but in some cases completely, the other way than where.
Absolutely, especially with the tons of information we have access today, or even if we don't look for it, it comes to us. Um, it's so easy to be attracted, like a bee or butterfly, to go there and there and there. And at the end of the day, okay, you were curious or attract, you learn some stuff, but did you lose your time? Was it useful, or did you get attracted or trapped by an influencer on Instagram that has so much success, but it's her or his success, but doesn't have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
yes,
think about this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go on, go on, go.
Well, I
Please.
think about that as well as it relates to AI as well. Like, if you don't tell AI what you're after, what you want to do, it will tell you. I mean, if you've ever started talking to Chat or Claude or anything else, and they'll be like, good morning, what are we working on? And it doesn't take much and it just goes. And so you have to be really careful with that because
and you can spend 3 hours talking with chat on something absolutely unuseful, or he thought or it thought that it's what his answers are the best for you. But if you don't know you will take his answer for granted and act on it. And is it right to do that?
well, but people
If
are
you
fast that they don't always check in. And I think that is also, it's kind of like, okay, I got a great job offer. Should I take the job offer? Well, it makes a certain amount of money. Let's go for it. Well, pause. Is that job putting you closer to the thing that you love? Or is it in alignment? Does it fit with your other priorities in your life? What else should we be looking at here? But if you don't have that
yeah.
sort of internal piece that's grounding you, it's so easy to just to be like, oh, let's go over here, or let's do this, or buy this, or take this job, or quit this job, and then before you know it, you're like, ooh, that much later, like maybe that wasn't the way.
Yes, this was there was this studied report that Anthropic published some weeks ago about people giving all their power to Claude and making excuse about the decision that has been made because it was not them. AI told me to do that.
Yeah, and you're like, wait a minute,
So
wait a minute. Yes, well, it's like the self-driving cars. Is like when you get in a Tesla and it's fully driving, and that car gets in an accident, and you're like, well, it wasn't me, it was Tesla driving. Well, Tesla isn't, it's an entity, but it can't assume that liability. And it's the same thing with AI. It's a tool. And I would put
yeah,
money in the same camp. I would put all these things that are available to us, and they're all important pieces. There are relationships and all the other things. I'm like, how do you use them? Lay them all on the table. But you have to be the one, the human has to be the one to assemble them, prioritize them, and deploy them, and then oversee it, because all of those things could overstep. Money becomes too powerful and too influential. You got to get that in check. If your AI becomes too powerful and influential, that can just take off and run, right? Relationships can do the same thing. So there's only one person really in the middle of that that can and should be the orchestrator of all of those pieces. Only one person can do it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So
Mm.
we'll see. We'll see. I have a question. I have another question for you, or a question for you.
Sure.
You said before that you ask yourself those crucial questions around 40: who you are, what you want, and so on. Why? What happened around 40 that made you open this space for those questions?
Yeah. This is a good question.
Yeah.
I got real probably for the first time. I got out of autopilot. And I say that I did a lot of things really consciously. When I moved to the UK right after grad school, that was super intentional and that was super in alignment. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made. It's a little bit like picking my partner. I did it early on. It freaks him out actually, but when I met him, I knew I was going to marry him. I just had to zip it because it would have freaked him out, right? There was something in
Oh
my,
my God, it was exactly the same for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. And I was in the US at the time, and I had a year of grad school left. And I met him and I was like, we can date. And then as soon as I moved over there, but those things were completely in alignment. They would have scared the crap out of any, like my parents were like, what? And, he's like, yeah, I didn't tell him actually until much later after we were married and he couldn't leave anymore. Right. Um, but yeah, where was I going with? There was a question again. Oh yes. Okay. So I got out of autopilot because the idea was that I was doing those things and some of them were just by the grace of the universe or the grace of God, we're in alignment, and I could feel that without hesitation. But a lot of my life was sort of like chasing something. And what happened when I turned around 40 was I lost my job really unexpectedly.
Ah,
And this is the story for a lot of people, right? A lot of people have something, they get an illness, they lose somebody, there's a breakup that happens.
yeah.
Or anyway, for me, it was I left a great job to join a startup, and they fired me after 8 weeks. I mean, it's a whole story behind that. It was really toxic. But the point is, I landed somewhere and I hired a coach, a career coach, who at one point just asked me all the questions. I didn't have the answers. And she was like, you know what? I don't think I can help you. I think you need like a life coach. I mean, the career coach, like also, I almost fired me, but in a loving way. And I spent some time with myself for the first time, and I was like, gosh, those are very reasonable questions that she is
Yeah.
asking, and I'm really surprised that I don't have a more clear picture of who I am and what I want and these sort of things. At that point, well, I have two citizenships, so I was like, I don't even know what continent I want to be on, And so she was just like, I can't. So yeah, I spent some time reading. I found the work of Michael Singer. I found the work of Deepak Chopra, and I just kind of dove in and I did a lot. I mean, that was really the start of my, not quite the start, but that's where I went really much deeper, spending some time with with myself and asking different questions. And I think also to the work that you're talking about as well. I took a moment to stop doing. I didn't have anything to do because I wasn't working. And so
Yeah.
I shifted into being probably for the first time. So yeah, that's where it started. And now I try to take people there without the crash and burn, right? So if people are feeling a little bit of this and they know it's not quite right, can we do some of that work only when that person is ready? But can you do a little bit of this purpose work, intentional work, figuring out a little bit more about what it is that you want before you're in a position that I found myself in, that many people find themselves in.
Yeah. Yes, it's often this turning point or tipping point at some point in our lives. For me, it was burnout and then the loss of my father. But for others, it's yes, illness, or they lose their job, or the divorce or whatever. Um, it's strange that we need something, huge life to make us realize that yes, this autopilot and career we were on is not the one we are meant for. Maybe it's really crazy how things are going.
It is a little bit crazy. And it's like what drives our decisions, because I've made a lot of really good ones, and then I've made some ones that were just a little bit questionable, or that I didn't fully make. So it's like, how do you pause long enough to make an intentional decision about something? And you can't do that for everything, because we're making decisions all day long, but like on the good stuff, and the big.
Yes, yes.
And how do you
You
know?
know, and that's great because this this question is really great because I will hold a workshop in June and some power weeks soon as well, to teach people to feel in their body, is it the right decision?
Mm.
Is it? And for you, it's in your solar plexus, and for me, it's more like I'm in love. Something here like butterflies, or it's not full excitement, but it's just, this sounds good. Something like that. Because it's exactly the same feeling that when I met my husband, when I left my corporate job, and it was, at one point it's peaceful. Is it the right moment to send this email? How do I feel here? And at one point, because as you said, we make tons of decisions each day, whether it's to have a shower, send an email, or make big decisions. But how do we feel it's the right moment and the right decisions that we are making? And with this multitasking, just to piggyback, this multitasking put some fog on the decisions and our inner compass, I think.
I love that. I agree. I talk about the inner compass a lot, and I think there's a lot of stuff that clouds it. I think that one of the biggest realizations for me, and when I work with other people, is this idea that all of the things that you need and all of the information is already here. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what kind of amazing person you hire or whatever you're doing, that they can guide and they can ask questions, but they'll never tell you. I mean, if they're good, they'll never tell you this is what you need to do, because they don't know. I mean, who knows you better than you? And so this absolute like light bulb moment when it's like not just for today either, and not just for next week, but for my entire life and the reason that I'm on this earth, like nobody's going to be able to direct me better than me. And like that is in itself, right? So the question becomes like, how do you unearth, how do you learn to work with? And the fog is a great visual because it gets clouded with other people's priorities. It gets clouded with subconscious programming. It gets clouded even when it's clear. Even for me, I feel this. I've got back to back meetings, but I got to do a quick, lunch because I'm starving, and then I got to pick my son up. It's life in a way. And so we have to be really thoughtful about carving these times out. Or, I'm on a mission right now to clear some of my commitments because it is, even in alignment, even with awareness, it becomes too much. And if you look at a day and there's like not enough gaps, like where is my being time? Where is my me time? Right.
Yes, and I think that's something you made a good point here. It's very essential to allow yourself, give yourself permission to have me time, alone time, or even if it's if 10 minutes walks, or I don't know, a rest, or just 3 minutes breathing or whatever it is, but we have to have, sorry, access to to this safe space where we can just be without pressure, without thinking, without overthinking, and in this space, if we feel comfortable enough to stay in silence, all the answers are here for sure.
Yeah, and you
If
mentioned something really important though, and I think it's the silence piece, and it's being comfortable hanging out with yourself. I used to have friends that would be like, I would never go out to lunch or dinner by myself. That's crazy. And I'm like, well, it might be an issue if you cannot find time to hang out with yourself where you are not stimulated. Like, okay, I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to check.
Yep.
I'm going to just be by myself, but I'm going to read. I love reading. I love it. I'm just saying, like, there should be a time in my life that this is what I know that I need, where I am walking in nature without anything, or I'm sitting in a chair and I will appear to be maybe even asleep to other people. That doesn't matter. But the point is, I've created that space for myself. I think a lot of people have such a, I don't know what the right adjective is. Is it mean, dirty, just this inner monologue that people like, get
Yes.
here, you lazy bastard. Like, go do something. What are you doing? And all this stuff is, we're constantly talking to
Yeah.
ourselves. But there's these
Yes, I think I don't know what, maybe it's the nervous system or whatever, which is not used to silence or rest. But at one point, and I did that a lot, I trained it and this inner dialogue as well, to allow myself to enjoy a rest on my balcony in the middle of the afternoon in between two calls, because that's okay and I deserve it, and that's okay, point, period. you know
well, you only deserve it if you have three clients and you've already, cleaned up the kitchen, the laundry's, of course, right? This is the way, but you deserve it absolutely. And I think it's also critical for that like downtime, but you do have to train it.
Yes, and I realized I was at the gym lately today, and I noticed that people are on the smartphone while training and working out. So I was okay. Okay, I'm here with my body. I don't need a video or whatever to help me train. So yes, that's really crazy, because I need to feel what's happening in my muscles while I'm doing some workout. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you go through life, and a lot of people do just like that. If they're not being stimulated, then they're probably talking negative things to themselves, and that doesn't feel
Yep.
good. So there's really no
Yes.
aside from sleep, which is a different thing. I mean, sleep is great, but it's not the same thing as being conscious and awake and finding that peace during the day.
And the thing is that once again, with the craziness of this world, we need this, little moment when we are able to step back. Even in a meeting with, I think about boardrooms, or CEOs and CTOs and so on. In their meetings, they have to be able to have this little break before they decide, just to feel if they are deciding out of fear, scarcity, lack, or whatever, or is it the real right decision for the business right now?
Yes. Don't let emotions lead. And that's how we do it. I mean, emotions are really big, right? So this skill, this goes back to the very beginning when we were talking about modern leadership, the skill of
Yeah,
discernment, the skill of saying, you know what, even though it looks good to be rapid fire, I'm going to take a breath before I respond, and I'm just going to check in, is this the right moment? And in those moments, you don't have a lot of time. But this is where you see great leaders separated from just leaders. I don't
yeah,
say leaders, but these are the people also that tend to have a little bit more levity and joy as well, because they have a place that they can go to create that pause for themselves, to create that gap so that they can respond instead of react. And look at
yeah,
kids; they tend to react because they're kids. But there are a lot of adults that will do the same thing. And I'm like, well, I said that
yeah,
because, well, I understand that's a really human thing to do, but like, is there a better way? And sometimes all you need is a breath. I'm actually working with a law firm, helping provide some, I don't know if it's coaching, but information for clients going through divorce. And one of the things that they asked was, can you put something together for clients when they're on the stand, when they're about to be cross-examined? Because the other side plays on this. I mean, they're very clever. They want you to say something, and so they get you going and they get you all
yeah,
riled up. And when your emotions are leading, that's when things come out unfiltered. And so the name of the game in that setting, as is in the boardroom, as is everywhere, is like, before you say something, can you just create a little moment and then respond? Choose a
yeah.
really easy to get caught up in the moment.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday with Iva about breath and breath work, and yes, it's really our superpower. But because immediately when you take a long breath, not a short one here, but a longer breath, immediately you are back into your full power and alignment. And if you can do something, like an anchor or something like that, or just feel I'm back in my alignment, just tell yourself in your head, I breathe, I'm in my alignment. Great. And then I talk. It's so difficult to do it. Try to do it with your husband around the dinner. It's very difficult to do it each time, and not even when we are talking live. Just to take 1 second. Just 1 second.
Because also when you're in the flow and you're having but even then it's like, just loosen up the belly and take a bit of a breath. And I started to do this also in a corporate setting where
Yeah,
people might even ask like what I'm doing. It's not, you can make this work very discreet. I can go anywhere and take a breath and no one will know. But sometimes I choose to do just a little thing, or I'll just do a little motion. And I think that sometimes helps other people also. Okay, the situation is getting a bit intense. Let's all
yeah,
do that. So this is a tool for me. And if it serves somebody else, or they recognize that, or frankly, even if they don't, they can see that I'm just stepping back, like energetically, just for a minute. And then you can kind of come back, in a little bit different space. So,
yeah. I had this client some years ago, and he was a CEO of a big company here, and he invited, before every boardroom, he invited the committee and all the board members to join him for a little meditation, 15 minutes before the time. And he said, I will commit to be there before each single meeting, 15 minutes. I'm gonna meditate, take my breath, and come back to my alignment. If you want to join, join. And for 1 year, he was alone now.
Yeah.
It's a shame, you know.
It is a bit of a shame. Did anybody join
Yeah.
after it? Like, did little by little
Yes,
coming, or
then he did it in other meetings with, not his peers, but the one much below, other manager, lower managers, and they agreed to join. But at this higher level, top management, they didn't want to even try.
that's interesting.
Is it and can you imagine a CEO saying, "Okay, let's meditate together before our board meeting"? So,
I love
and
it, and
I
it's
love that
crazy,
too.
but
Yeah,
it is crazy that more people didn't. And I what I also love about that is that it was a man, the CEO. He or she was like, I'm going to keep doing it anyway. Nobody shows
yeah,
up. This meditation is not for performance. This meditation is for me. So if no one comes, and there's a story about, I think, Jay Shetty or somebody too, who started doing classes or things, and no one came. And he showed up and did it anyway. And that's a
yeah,
great story for me to remember too, because as entrepreneurs and as people making a change, you still sort of look around and you're like, does this work? Am I doing the right things? Like, no. Only we can tell here if it's
yes,
thing, right? So regardless of whether you have buy-in from people, if it's serving you, try to keep doing it. I mean, and the proof is in the pudding. Like I meditate in the mornings. I've been doing it for 3.5 years since I kind of started my journey. And nobody knows I do that, but it is, if I miss it, I can tell. Like it just is this juicy space for me to spend some time and set my intentions, and it serves me through
oh,
the day. So
of course, of course. I don't meditate anymore. I don't. Today, I don't have this big morning routine that I used to have, waking up at 5:30 and so on, before the family and my son, and just to have my space. But today I don't need it anymore because my son is older, so that's okay, and I can start my. But I just need 3 or 5 minutes just to. How am I feeling today? Do I need a morning routine? Do I need to breathe or doing some yoga or whatever? And I offer myself the choice, and then what I'm doing is, if I'm not trapped in AI and multitasking,
yeah.
because I'm human and so I'm not perfect, but often I try to really breathe before each email I'm sending. If I walk to have a coffee, from my desk to the kitchen, I pay attention to my breath. So I'm more aware, or yes, present with myself in between. Even when I'm writing, I'm writing the second book, and I just receive the information, so I pay attention to be really here in my body. If I receive information and I am tapping,
I love
which
it.
is, yes, it's a kind of multitasking as well.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like you're in the flow, right? And you're getting it.
Absolutely.
So I
Yes,
think,
but sometimes you're in the flow, but you are more in your head, and you feel contracted here or on your shoulders because you're just in the flow and doing, and you don't breathe at that time.
true.
Sometimes we are stuck here over, and
Yeah, it's the head breathing, but it does get to you,
uh,
and I find this as well. And then after a while, my stomach is like, "Oh my gosh, lady, relax and take a breath." And so,
yeah,
like,
okay.
comfortable, take a deep breath and
Mm.
space.
Oh, that's so great. Oh my
So,
God. I love this conversation. We should talk more.
I agree. There's
Yeah.
ways to go with this, and I want to ask about your second book as well. But I suppose we're still talking about the first one, which is awesome.
Yes. So yeah, just I don't know when the second one will be ready, because I'm writing in French as I did for the first one, and this one is not being is the new doing is not a how to book. because I don't want to everyone is different, so everyone has to find his own way to do so, so everybody can find his own how. And so it's more a guide or a process or a reflection. And the second one will probably a novel or a romance or something like that about the new world and how are the new leaders, the modern leaders, or the new entrepreneurs working, being fully conscious with AI and so on. So it's a kind of perspective, futuristic book.
I like it. Sounds
Yeah, me too.
good.
Yeah, I actually I don't have the choice because it's coming and I have to do something with that. So because otherwise it stays here. So I started to write, and
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see where it
Creative,
goes.
creative stuff. You got to go with it when you can, right? I mean, when it comes to you, you got to get it out.
Yes, and that the beauty of living the life you are meant to. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
so
Well,
you make space for what it's important for you.
yeah. And that's a gift.
Yeah. Oh yes, we are very lucky.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's a choice as well.
I think so. And it's an interesting one. As a mantra I talk about a lot is like everybody in their own journey, because I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I learn something or I discover something or I've got a new tool, one of the first things I think of is like, oh, so and so needs this. Oh, this would be so good for this situation. I'm like, no, no. This is your gift right now. Sit in it, enjoy it, and then at the point at which that person is ready, it will be there. You can't force these things. And I mean, you know that working with clients as well. It's like sometimes you walk in and you're like, wow, I see so many things here, but
Yeah.
everything unfolds in its own time. Patience. I'm learning a lot of patience.
Absolutely patience, and when it's right, you don't have to rush anything. As well, when your foundations are really settled and you feel confident within your body and your life, you have time. You don't have to rush. Tomorrow it will still be there. So, and even with our clients, why do I have this proposal to send, and it's okay if I send it tomorrow. She will not, my client, she will not disappear. She's waiting for my offer, and I have faith and trust in that. And if at one point she decided not to go on with me, that's okay too, because we are two in this relationship. So I cannot force her to work with me if at one point she changed her mind. So
Right.
that's okay.
Yeah, I think there's something about that though, because there's a self trust and this internal validation piece that is really, I'm finding that has been one of the hardest parts of my journey, which is, oh, someone needs something. Let me be the first one. I'm going to drop what I'm doing and I'm going to respond to that request. And breathing some space into that is, I think at this moment in time, I'm feeling that to be one of the most difficult things, because I want to be the one that's like helpful, and I have an answer and I want to give it to you, and just like get the proposal out, like exceed. And there's some conditioning there too in the business world, right? Like it's like over deliver. So if you said you were going to get the proposal on Wednesday, do it on Monday or Tuesday, because that will really impress them, and then they'll probably say yes. Just
Yeah, exactly. But why? And I think the purpose of being is not doing nothing, it's just slowing down and do it from inside out. And then what do we show to our clients if we over deliver, we anticipate everything and so on, and we keep this, we keep giving we keep this pressure and this tension, instead of slowing down the process and the pressure, and just a little bit, not, I'm not talking about months, I'm
right,
talking about days. So that's okay. And at one point, if she cannot wait for one day to have the answer, do we really, or to get the proposal or whatever, do we really want to work with people who are constantly putting some pressure on our shoulders. No, for sure, no. I
Yeah.
don't want.
Yeah, I think about that too because it's an automatic filter, isn't it? And if I
Yes,
say something that feels in alignment and it puts you off, the old me would have been like, "Oh, let me backtrack. What I meant was, let me try to explain myself." Now I think about it more like if that felt like the right thing to say and I've taken some time or whatever and it doesn't vibe with you, that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything all the time and maybe I'm not your person. And that's
yeah,
also okay. If you're a person that wants to do XYZ thing, go find another coach and everybody's happy, right? But it would be a horrible thing. And I'm redoing my website again and I'm thinking, okay, what's the nicest way? And I don't want to put anybody off. No, I don't want to put people off. I also don't want to fake sell myself, right? So it's about like who are you true to, and then
yeah.
let the universe sort of help filter and guide you to the people who are meant for you.
Absolutely. I had this, I'm a former digital marketing consultant, and a lot of my actual clients were former clients. So I didn't work exactly the same than today. I'm the same person, the same energy, and so on. But today, and I have really to inform them and let them know that today, if they want to work with me, they have to be able to close their eyes and take a long deep breath. If they can't do that or imagine themselves doing that with their team, I'm not the right person for them, for sure.
That's great. And you've saved
Yeah.
yourself and them time and energy. So
Of course, and then they say, "Oh no, I really want to work with you," you know, yeah, because yeah, this relationship and the feelings, so they are okay to close their eyes. But I realize that often, when it's the manager or the team leader or even the CEO who wants to do that, the team is not often okay to close the eyes and take some time and say, oh, it's a little bit hoo-hoo, you know and from time to time it's workshop about intuition. So yeah, intuition is not something in the mind, so it's not logical and rational. So yes, it's a little bit hoo-hoo. Yes, it is.
I do think though there's more stuff pulling together. I mean, I'd say my space right now is a bit of woo, combined with neuroscience, combined with practical everyday
Yeah.
leadership. Like all of those things in my mind for my work, they all have to come together. If you don't have room for any pieces of those, it's probably not the fit. I love the science piece of it for sure. And I don't want anyone to have to blow up their lives to start meditating for 2 hours a day because that's just not practical. So there's this practicality piece in there. But there's a really nice intersection I'm finding with these people. And people are somewhat open-minded. I'm interested, like a chat I'll expect to go a certain way sometimes. I can't help myself. And it goes in a totally different direction in a good way. And I'm like, this has been a fascinating conversation. Like you seem open-minded and this is a fun thing to do as well. When you're sure of yourself and you're in alignment,
Yes.
you can take these little, maybe they're risks, maybe they're just experiments to kind of see, like, if I use this word with this person, what is the reaction? And I'm finding this a fun and surprising game to play, especially in the business world.
Yes, it's really strange how we, put ourselves in some boxes and words that we should use in the corporate world, or some people, because yes, it's too who or whatever. And but at one point, we want our clients to be fully themselves with us, and so we have to allow ourselves to be ourselves fully with themselves as well, because otherwise, yes, it's not balanced or a win-win collaboration. So yeah, it's strange how we prevent ourselves to be fully ourselves. Maybe it's rejection or need for recognition or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. Ah, oh, it's so good. Such a good conversation.
Oh yes, it is. But I see that it's time to close.
That went by really
And
fast, didn't it? Yeah.
oh my God, yes, because I look at the clock to 20 minutes ago or something like, oh, we have plenty of time. It's so great. And now, yes, it's But it's always like that when something is, it's like deep work, or you have when you are really good with someone and spending a real great moment, sharing a real great moment. We It's almost like, yes, you fall in this, yes, deepness of time, and wow, you have the feeling that you spend the whole day with together. So it's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even look at my notes. I mean, I've written down the questions. We didn't even need it. It was great. It was a
No,
great
but
flow.
it's same for me. I asked you, actually, I think I asked you the first one, and then yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but it was really great and fun, and thank you for being here and showing up, and for, yes, your words on the book, and it's, yeah, really really great, and I love to know you. I'm so happy.
yes. I'm so glad we connected. Thank you so much for having me on and for this discussion, and continued good luck with the book. It's such an amazing piece. I hope everybody reads it. It's so needed. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you again, and take care of your good energy, and
Likewise.
see you soon.
All right. See you
Yeah,
soon.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye.